Afternoon, everyone. We're so glad you could join us this afternoon. I'm Linda Winter, and I work with the Wacom education team, and we're so pleased to have the opportunity to bring you this series of webinars with math and science educators. And today we have someone who's just a joy to listen to and learn from. We're going to talk today about seamless integration of math and technology in both the elementary and secondary classroom setting. And our presenter today is Kim Gardner from Dixon Middle School in Provo, Utah. Some of you may not have been familiar with Wacom digital pen and tablet input technology. Wacom has done so much in terms of bringing innovative technology to the world of creativity and design, and now seeing what's possible to help teachers and educators also be creative in their classrooms and in their schools. So Kim, next slide, and we'll get started here. Today we'll work together for about an hour. We'll save our last 10 minutes for questions and answers. And we hope you'll submit your questions. Kim is one of those educators that you'll find in many schools. She's kind of the go-to can-to educator about new techniques, new technologies, and just solid instructional practices. Use the Q&A feature on Zoom, please. When you have a question, you'll see messages come in on the chat, but we'll take your questions actually from the Q&A section on Zoom. We're going to record today's session, and you as a registered participant will receive a link so that you can watch this again, and we hope you'll share it with some of your colleagues. Kim, can you switch slides? There we go. We're going to look today at some innovative but very practical, very accessible instructional techniques in math. And these are techniques that will engage students, whether you're teaching in a traditionally scheduled environment right now, a hybrid setting, which many of us are, or a setting that's fully remote. And so with that, I'm going to ask Kim to introduce herself to you, and she's going to get us started. And remember, post your questions to the chat, or sorry, to the Q&A, and we'll answer them at the end of our session today. Kim, all yours.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. It's great to be here with you. I have just finished a school day. I have been a teacher, like Linda said, well, I'm starting my 30th year actually. I taught at the elementary school level for 24 years, and after getting my master's degree and my level 2 math endorsement, I made the big jump to middle school to teach my love math. The things that I'll be showing you today, though, are very applicable to both secondary level and definitely the elementary level, because like I said, that's where I've spent most of my career. So let me go ahead and start out by saying that technology has always been a big driving factor in my classroom. The school district that I teach in, I would say we were probably on the internet, on the web, oh gosh, I want to say 22, 23 years ago. It was early, and we had the internet up and running. And so I remember those early days trying to find ways to use that and to engage my students. Those of you who are old enough might remember the good old days of things like Tux Paint and things like Kid Pix. And there was a time during that 24 years in the elementary school that I taught in the computer lab. And so I was responsible for trying to find ways to engage the kids in whatever their classroom teacher was teaching at that time. So I used things like these to create activities to promote that engagement for kids. And of course, with the things that we have nowadays, it's a lot easier to find access to things already made, so I didn't have to now create the wheel. Just to let you know, I am on a hybrid schedule at my school. So I teach currently all this craziness. I teach 50% of my kids each day on alternating days, and we are out early so that the custodians can sanitize the school. So I'm meeting with my math students a total of face-to-face 70 minutes each week. So that's certainly not enough time to get through everything we need to for math. So I really have to rely on great things that help me do that. And so in class, whether I'm hybrid or face-to-face, I bought this lovely little Wacom tablet in 2016, not realizing how it would save my life, especially during these crazy times. And so I'd like to tell you how this little Wacom tablet and some of the technology that I've found have gone hand in hand to make my life easier and things more engaging for my kids. So I'm going to be talking about some of the things that you see here: Jamboard, Whiteboard Fee, That Quiz, Class Kick, and a few other places. Now, hopefully you'll get something out of this that you can take back and use. The first thing I'd like to talk about is Jamboard. It's been around actually for a couple years, I guess, but I did not become familiar with it until just this spring. Jamboard is very similar to Google Slides. It's within the Google suite, I guess you could say. So if you're familiar with Google Slides, the problem with Google Slides is you can't write on them. They have the little scribble tool, but it doesn't really work well, especially for math and science and things where you want to see their work. So Jamboard is one good way to go ahead and have kids show their work. And so I'm going to run a little video here of how I go ahead and use Jamboard in my class. And all the while, any writing that you'll see me doing, I was doing with my Wacom tablet, because the nice thing about this is the little Intuos, and it has a pen. It's a pen tool. So it's just like writing on a piece of paper. And so right here you can see I'm going into Google Jamboard, and it's really easy to create lessons. You can go ahead and just push that little yellow or orange little plus sign down on that bottom corner. You can create your own jams. The kids can create theirs. And then just like Google Slides and Google Docs and things like that, they can be shared out. So it can become a really interactive tool. Now, what's nice about it is if you were to share it out as maybe a jam that you had created, if you share it out just as a link, then that becomes now an interactive board that kids can go ahead and react with all at the same time, or you can share out their own copies. We are using Canvas this year, and so I can share it out and it forces them to make a copy. You can see on the board there that I've created, you can import pictures in, and then there's drawing tools. They do have a text tool now that they didn't have a few weeks ago, and they have basic shapes. So it's a pretty basic whiteboard, but it works really, it's great for teaching a lesson online. If you want to share it out to kids to make their own copies, like I said, we use Canvas, and in Google Classroom, you could share it out in a way in your LMS system that it would automatically share out and that it would make a copy for them. But if you're not using a learning management system like those, you could easily follow the directions that I've got here, where you go ahead and you push on that share link, just like you would when you're sharing Google Slides or a doc. And when you click on that share, you're going to go ahead, and what's seeming to be a little bit scary when you do that is you're going to share it out so the kids can be an editor. So instead of just viewing it, you're going to have them be an editor. So if you have made something that you don't want to have ruined, I guess you could say, I guess you could always make a copy of it, but you're gonna make them an editor on this. Now, the one thing that is going to make it better though is, so when you make them an editor, you're going to change the URL and it will force a copy. So they really won't hurt your original document unless you forget to do this last step. So on this last step, what you do is you'll notice I had just made them a viewer. I'm sharing the URL right there. And then you'll notice that up where it says edit in the URL, if you were to just, and I'll be putting that right up there. So where it says edit, if you just change edit to copy, and then you share that new URL with them, that will automatically force them to copy it. So when they click on that new URL, it'll give them the little button that says, do you want to make a copy? And then they'll make a copy, and it will be automatically in their Google Drive. So you can see the little waffle up here, right there. That just says that in their Google account, they will see the Jamboard and it will be their own copy. So it won't hurt anything. Right there, copy the document. So that's a good alternative if you do not have an LMS system like Schoology or Google Classroom or Canvas, things like that. So Jamboard is a great way to make a whiteboard lesson. So if you're needing, you know, the onboard online whiteboard. So, and I'll come back to that in a little while. Another great one that maybe you've seen or maybe you haven't is Whiteboard Fi or Whiteboard Fi. I don't know if it's Fi, Fo, Fum, whatever it is, but you have the kids there. Oh, what's nice about this is there's no signups, so you don't have to make a teacher account. It's totally free. There's just join codes, so there's no student information that's given out, so it's nice and safe to use. It's totally teacher-led, and you can save everything into PDFs to save or post later. So how you do that, and I'm just going to run my little movie here. You go to whiteboard.fi as your URL, and you click on New Whiteboard. You give it a name, and then you can choose whether to enable them in a waiting room, things like that. This is what you'll see when it comes up on your teacher screen, and that little highlighted part is their join code. So all you'd have to do is maybe have a link on your computer or your web page, or just have them go to whiteboard.fi, and they'll go ahead and it will ask them to join. And then once they join, you can see up at the top where it says My Whiteboard and My Class. So nobody has joined yet, so you can see in My Class it's currently empty. I would go ahead then and I would create a whiteboard, and now you can see Kimmy has joined the class. So now what it's got is Kimmy will have just kind of a picture waiting there. The whiteboard isn't available for her to work on yet. But I go ahead and I go to my whiteboard. You can see I can bring in a picture that I've saved on my desktop. I can use the little pencil tool there, and that's what comes again really handy with my tablet here, is I'm not fighting to work with a trackpad or a mouse. I just pick up my pen and write. And so I'm having them show me just some, you know, easy problem or whatever it is for an exit ticket, or it could be a quick entrance ticket to your class, however you want to make a quick assessment that day. Once you've done that on your teacher end, the students still haven't seen it at this point. So what you go ahead and do is you head down to Actions and you push it out to your students. So it says your whiteboard has now been pushed out to students. So then you as the teacher, you'd go back to the My Class, and now you can see what is on Kimmy's whiteboard, and Kimmy will now start to go ahead. And so if you have, you know, 30 or 40 or 50 students, you will be seeing all their real-time action on the whiteboard. Now, Whiteboard Feed does not allow a teacher to interact or respond on the students' whiteboards like other things do, but it's a great assessment tool. And so you can see exactly what they're doing. And then what's nice is after the students have done all of their work, and you've got all 30 of them there, you can go ahead and save it as a PDF or, well, yeah, as a PDF, and just give it a name. And then once you save it, it not only saves the teacher board, your original board, but it will save all the students' boards also. So it's a great little quick assessment tool. And then what I like to do is you can actually, if I was showing the PDFs, I would go ahead and hide their names, and you do have the ability to hide their names. And then you could go ahead and show, maybe if you're doing a Zoom, you could show different people's work with the names hidden. And then I like to call them my favorite mistake. And so we would pick somebody and we'd look at what they did really well and what they need to improve on. And we have a great math conversation with that. So it's just a great little quick tool, Whiteboard Feed. Okay, the next thing, thatquiz.org. Wow, this has been around for Oh golly, I'm going to guess at least 15 years. I can't say for sure, but I did use this over at the elementary school, and this doesn't have it's a free site. You can sign up for a teacher account, but what's nice about this is you can see it goes clear up through calculus, and it even has just regular quick assessment things to show. I like to use this, you'll see on this next one. I like to use this when I am creating, and again, you'll see I'm using my little tablet. So if I have an activity that I want my kids to do, I go ahead and I would screencast or make a little video of the steps that they might have to go to on this activity, so that when they get to this site and they're saying, well, I don't even know what to do, they can now watch exactly what I'm going to have them do, and they will be able to perform what I need them to do on that site. What's great about that quiz is you're able to go ahead, and if you sign up for your free account, and when I say free, it's free, they don't ever charge, you can make your classes. And again, if you're worried about the security of your students, what I've done in the past is I've just had their usernames be just some random initials, or it could be a student number in your class. You could say, you know, student 1, student 2, and assign numbers, and then a random password, so that they're not really giving any of their own personal information out. So once you assign their classes, you can assign them little activities, and it will grade it for them, and then you can keep track that way. You can see that I would go ahead and I'd be telling them exactly what to look for. So that's what's so nice about having my little tablet here, is that I can just quickly jot down whatever I want them to do on the assignment, make it into a little video, and I can post it again in Canvas, Schoology, in Google Classroom, or however I want to do that. So there is that one. And then I show them exactly what it would look like. And I'm going to just scoot this movie just slightly ahead, because then at the end, it'll show them, and I don't want to take up all the time, but now I'm using the tool actually on that quiz. So this is what they will do. And they're going to see that as soon as I can graph these couple of dots on my line, that the line will go directly through, and I got it correct. So the kids can see, and it's self-assessing as they go. So it's just a great little tool, and I use this a lot in class, so I don't have to recreate the wheel. So that's one of my favorite go-tos. And like I said, I've used that for years and years and years, both in the elementary school and in middle school. So I've created a whole bunch of just even timed tests. I use the same 3-minute timed tests in middle school that I did in elementary school, except now I put negatives with them instead of just regular multiplication and division or addition and subtraction. So I use it with integers. The next thing that I'd like to talk about is ClassKick. I love ClassKick. So I don't know if you've heard about this one, but as a math teacher, I need to be able to have my kids show their work. Now, I have the luxury of having this great little tablet to do my teacher side. But what happens if the kids don't have a tablet? Well, my students, our district has Chromebooks for all of our students. That was one of the major purchases that our district made. And the Chromebooks are touch screen, so that does help. But with this, it's very easy to use the trackpad or the mouse to do what they need to do. So what's nice about this is you can see over here all these things that ClassKick does, and I'm going to show some of them here. So for instance, now when I first have my kids go into ClassKick, I have to go ahead and make a little tutorial of how to use all the tools on ClassKick. And again, I love to be able to just jot down with a pen all of my tools of what they will see when they're using ClassKick. So there's a text tool that they'll be able to type their answers in if they want to. If I ask them to go and submit a URL or a web link, you'll see that up there. That's a little web link that they can go ahead, or a teacher can put a web link in there. Movies oh, I think that last web link was the movie. So this web link would be an actual interactive site. So you can see it's actually the That Quiz site. And so if I was to put that link embedded in the ClassKick, and when I say embedded in ClassKick, it'll turn out to be sort of like a slide deck, kind of like Google Slides, but now it's something that they can interactively react in every slide that you'll see in just a few minutes. If I put that interactive site on ClassKick, then when my kids go in and work on something there, they could take a screenshot, just like that one there, and they could say, hey, you know, I got 100%, Mrs. G, and they could show that to me. So that's a great way to assess, a quick assessment of how they're doing on a concept. The audio tool. Oh, I love the audio tool. This is probably the selling feature for me. So as a teacher, I have, and I'll bet none of you have this same situation, but I have a lot of ELL kids at my school. And so they have a hard time reading any directions as it is. So I can go ahead and record directions on there, or I could, as I speak some Spanish, so luckily I could speak a little bit of Spanish on that audio tool, and then the kids just click on that audio tool to hear what they need to hear. And then what's nice is they can use the audio tool to respond back to me. So if they didn't want to write something, they could audio and verbally respond back to me. So that's a great little tool. All of these tools are in the free version of ClassKick. ClassKick has both free and pro version. I've used the free version for about 3 years, and just over spring, I went ahead and they were offering the pro version during the whole big COVID thing. And this year, I have gone ahead and splurged, and I've bought my own pro version. So you can make a fill in the blank tool, and they also have a multiple choice tool, and those can grade for you. So that's kind of nice. And I'll show you that in just a minute, what it looks like on the student side. So that's lots of versatility to make it a very engaging and interactive assignment for them. But it's so nice, again, to be able to just pop my directions in and point, and you can see pointing to whatever I need them to see on my assignments. You can make little manipulative tools so that they can move things around. So that would be really great for younger grades, for vocabulary and things like that. And you can add pictures. It's a wonderful tool. So this is what a completed slide deck might look like on the teacher side of things. You can see it looks very similar to what Google Slides would be. Now, one thing, you know, you might be saying, oh my gosh, you know, the one thing that we don't have is time. How do we find time to create all this? You know, the one nice thing, well, there's many nice things, but one of the nice things about ClassKick and some of these other things like Jamboard is you don't necessarily have to have them all created bells and whistles. You don't have to, you know, take a lot of time to do that. You can have blank slides. You could assign each slide a page in their book, and they're showing problems 3 through 5 on slide 1 and whatever. So it doesn't take a lot of effort. What I'm showing here is, now it looks like maybe you're getting a poll question out there, and I'm seeing it on my screen, but I don't know if you're seeing it on yours. So there, okay. So what you're seeing here is the teacher side of a student that's actually working online. So here I've got Donald Duck, okay. If I was the teacher, I'd be able to tell who was online at that time because it's got the dark black frame around it. So you can see, again, I would be able to see real time what Donald is doing. And the nice thing about ClassKick versus the Whiteboard Fee that we were just in is I could go ahead and I could click into one of those slides and I could react basically face to face with a child online. I could write and interfere or work with them on a problem they're having. You can see on this slide right here, This slide would have had either an open-ended question or a multiple choice question, and that student has gotten something wrong. So as a teacher, I now already know that I need to go in on that slide and see what that student did wrong. So I could use the audio tool, I could grab my little pen, and I could work through at the exact same time that that student is working, and I could write and go through the process of helping them resolve the problem and doing it correctly. So it's so nice to be able to have that interaction. Funny true story here. When we went off, it was March 13th, and I'm not sure when all you went off, but on March 13th, Friday the 13th, we were in school that day, normal school day, and we got a call over the intercom about 5:30 saying, oh, you won't be back in school on Monday, so take everything home because we're going to be going online for a while. Well, what did I grab? I grabbed my Wacom, I grabbed my laptop and the things that I needed, and I was ready to go on the next Monday because I had already been using ClassKick in class. So it really was not bad to transition in all honesty. I taught for a week with ClassKick, and then my appendix ruptured. So I was actually in the hospital with my Wacom tablet and my laptop, and I was still doing remote teaching, and I was able to react with the kids. I was not doing Zoom while I was in the hospital, but I was able to react through the audio tool and through writing with the kids. So it really saved my life as a tool of online capability. So those are just some of the ones that I love to use, and I'll show a few more at the end. What I do want to do now, though, is I want to tell a little bit about how I do the screencasting. So I said before that we were a hybrid schedule at my school. So that means I'm trying to do a flipped classroom. Now, I have never done a flipped classroom before. This is my first year also, and first year doing Canvas. So there's been a lot on me also. And so I sympathize, and I'm right there with you that yes, we're all overwhelmed and it's scary and stressful. The one thing that has made it easy for me is just a couple little tools. So being able to write and show lessons with my tablet, and then a really great little tool that I use that has been able to help me do annotating and digital whiteboarding, screen recording, and saving all in one tool. So let me show you what that one is. I use something called Ipivo. Now, I also use Loom. That is free for teachers right now, and I believe it's going to be free forever for teachers. I also have used Screencastify. I've used Screencast-O-Matic. Those are free to a certain point. I believe they either let you do 5 minutes or 15 minutes. Excuse me. But Ipivo is totally free and no strings attached. And I don't believe there's a time limit on how long your movies can go. So when you go to ipivo.com, you go to Ipivo Annotator. Now you can see that it says it's for use with their interactive whiteboard. I don't have an interactive whiteboard in my classroom. We actually used to have Apple TV, and now I have a ClearTouch television, which is brand new and I'm also learning to use. But you go ahead and you download the Ipivo software, and then you will have this little toolbar, and I'll bring this up right here. And there's your little toolbar. And all those other movies that I had just shown you, those were all done using my Ipivo software. You might have seen this over on the left-hand side of the movies. So let me go ahead and run this little movie so you can see what Ipivo does. Let's see here. There we go. So when you download the software, you'll get that little toolbar there. And the little top pencil, that is your screen annotator. So as soon as you go ahead and click that, then that gives you the ability to write on whatever is on your computer screen. So you can see I'm under there, I'm using just the little red pen, and you can change the colors there. But you can write on math books, if you've got an online math book, or on a PDF. If you're using a website, you can write right on there, and it's not actually putting anything on your documents, so it's not hurting any of your PDFs or your math books or anything like that. You're totally just writing on the screen, and that's what's so, so great. So it's a wonderful annotation tool. So if I was teaching my kids out of the math book, then this would be a great thing for them to be, while I'm on Zoom, they could be doing the same thing I was doing. So, and this is what we're doing in class right now, is talking about absolute value. Now, you'll notice I can go ahead and erase things. I can change the size of the eraser. So there's just some nice little tools that go with an annotation device. So that can come in really handy. I know that they do have Ipivo as an extension on Chromebooks, because even before the whole COVID thing, last year my students had Ipivo on their Chromebooks, and so I would just have them go into Ipivo and use it as a whiteboard tool when we were in class. Besides annotating, you can see down here, it actually has a whiteboard tool. So you can go ahead, you can switch back and forth seamlessly, and there again, I'm using my pen tablet just to go ahead and write as if I was writing on paper. And so I could teach whatever lesson that I wanted to teach to the kids, and they could see what I was doing. And all the while, you will notice at the top of the screen, if you can see my pointer up here, right now I'm 2 minutes and 12 seconds into a video. So all I had done before I ever started this was I clicked on a little, well, you can see it's recording down there, but you just click on a little camera. And so my camera is right here. And so that's what I had done. And so I was just recording that whole time, and I'll just continue it on during that lesson. And then you could go ahead and save that as a movie, and you will have everything that you've shown on your screen. You'll have everything if it was in their book. You'll have everything on the whiteboard. You can, again, save that little movie onto your LMS system, or you could embed it in your website. It does save as a .mov file, which is a QuickTime file, but there are some free converters online that convert that to an MP4 just fine. And I have some of those resources at the end of the presentation that I will go ahead and show. But I love Ipivo just because of the ease of it. You can just go ahead and click that little camera. You can go ahead and write on the whiteboard, the annotation, whiteboard annotation, go back and forth and do whatever you need to do. You've got a ready-made lesson. I guess the one drawback for Ipivo is that it does not allow you to edit your movie. Loom, I believe, I haven't used as much, but Loom does allow you to pause and then go back into it. This one doesn't, so if you make a mistake in your lesson, that's okay, because then you're a real person and kids can see, oh, I don't have to be perfect. Teacher's not perfect, I'm not either. And of course, imperfections bring lots of learning opportunities. So I think it's just a great little tool to use as a screencasting device. So now what I'd like to do is I'd like to go ahead and look at a couple of the other things that weren't in the slide presentation. So we did talk about Jamboard a bit, and then I'm going to skip Whiteboard Fee for a second. We did talk about that one. Zeitboard. Zeitboard is another free online whiteboard that I've used a lot. So here is Zeitboard. Okay. And I hope everybody can see that. People running the webinar, if that can't be seen, send me some sort of a quick message or something. But at any rate, Zeitboard, it's free, and whoops. And there's also a paid version. So the free version, what I do like about Zeitboard is it's unlimited space. So you can go ahead and you can clear off, and you can just start the little tools, and you can write on it just the way you need to do it. Now right there, I'm using my trackpad, so it is, you know, you can write without a pen tool, but boy, now I've switched over to my pen tool, and it goes clear down, and you can use as much space as you need to on this when you keep moving up. So I did a lot of my lesson teaching during the spring with Zeitboard. So after you've taught your whole lesson, the other nice thing about the free version of Zeitboard is it does allow you to go ahead and you can export your lesson as a PDF, and then you can put that PDF into your learning management system or on your web page, and then you'll have the kids have access to the lesson. You can't save a whole lot of files on here on the free version, but if you've got them in PDF, you're pretty much okay. So that's one of the ones I like. The next one is this AWWW. I believe that is, I don't know, a web whiteboard. That's what it stands for. I've used this one a lot also. It's also free. The limitations on this one though, with the free version, is even though you have maybe a few more tools than Zeitboard, it doesn't allow you to do more than one page. So the Zeitboard, at least you can go on and keep scrolling up. This one allows you your one page of happiness on your whiteboarding, and then you're limited to that. So, but you can invite kids to join you. So this can be an interactive whiteboard where you do send out the link, and then you can have multiple kids. So in a tutoring situation, this could be really great because then you're both on the same board at the same time. So that's a really great one also. Okay, let's see here. We did a little bit of that quiz already. This site right here, Transom, I just came across this one just a couple years ago. It's just an interactive site, but it has lots of neat things that are already created, so you don't need to recreate the wheel again. You go into topics, and you can see maybe I want to go to equations. And then they have a whole bunch of things that you can search for and do. Now, in all honesty, when I'm looking for something, I like to go ahead and up in my toolbar, I just put something like transom equations, equations. And then it would bring me to here. So I've gotten pretty savvy at finding what I want. So I could do transom volume, transom surface area, transom equations. And I can go to different levels, and it regenerates different problems every time for the kids. So the students, if you are in class, they aren't working on the same problems. And then it go ahead, and I'll put a wrong answer here. But every time they check it, it can give them an immediate response. So it's great for just quick checks of not recreating the wheel. If I was to use this, I would probably make a quick little video using, again, I would probably use Ipivo, and you'll notice here's my Ipivo right here. I could go ahead and I could tell them to, you know, first step, undo, and second step. So I could write right on my page, just like I'm doing here, and I could show directly exactly how I want them to do the interactive site. So, and I'm gonna go ahead and move this down. So what you will see is, do you see how that is still on my screen? So again, it's literally a screen annotator, and I would push the trash can to get that out of the way. All right, so let's see here. We've done Class Kick. Go Formative. If you haven't used Go Formative, it's another great help, just like Class Kick. And again, I can't stress enough, don't worry about, I found, at least for me, that I can't worry about making beautiful presentations all the time. Sometimes I just need to make blank presentations, blank screens that kids can show their work, and then assign a book page or whatever it is. So on this one, it's goformative.com. You click on making a new formative right there. And this is the free version. You can see I don't have the premium version. And I'm going to go ahead and add a new slide deck, basically. And you can see some of the things in the free version are grayed out, so I don't have access to them. So they do have audio and audio response in the premium version, which I'm not getting the premium version in this. ClassKick has the audio response in the free version. So things work differently. But at any rate, I go ahead and like to do show your works. So there's a blank show your work. And I might have another blank show your work. So I might have multiple show your works. I could put just a quick, you know, solve 3x plus 5 equals, I don't know, 20 or something like that. And so then when they get in there, they will see on their slide, they will then see I'm editing the background, but when the students go in, they will see the problem that you've given them and a nice blank slide, and they're ready to go. And then the responses, pretty much like ClassKick, are ready to be seen. So let's see, time. Okay, got just a few more minutes here. Let's see, a couple of the sites that I really also love. I just actually made a ClassKick assignment this morning. We're talking about integers, and I made a ClassKick using this little site right here. Let's see if I can come to it. There we go. Okay. This has some great little tools on it. So I was using my integer chips this morning. And so I would go ahead, if I was making a tutorial on this, I would probably go ahead and bring my Ipivo up, show how to use the tools, and then I would go ahead and use the tools and show that kids could bring chips up here and show them positives, and they go negatives. And if they have a 0 pair, they even have a little hammer that you can break them apart. And then I would show them how we could go ahead and make 0 pairs and pair guys up to see who is not going to be, you know, still there. They're going to be left alone. So however you want to use it with your pen, it's a great little interactive tool. Okay, we are just about out of my time, but let's see here. Just one of the last things I did want to put in here, so I'm going to hurry and erase this from the screen. So like I said, I use Ipivo a lot, the Screencast-O-Matic, the Loom, things like that. Like I said, Ipivo will save it in a .mov file, but you can go ahead and use something like a free convert site, and then all you have to do is pull that .mov file into that site, and it converts it into an MP4 for you just great. So that is pretty much where we're going to go ahead and get to on my side of things. I think we've got a few minutes left. So Linda?
I do. We have plenty of time. Kim, that was great, and so many resources for educators to check out. We've had a few questions come in, and I thought I'd ask you, and then I have some questions for you as well. So let's get to them. Okay?
Yeah.
First off, just quickly, we had some folks ask about Jamboard and how many students can be on Jamboard at one time. But there's usually enough for your whole class, right? 25 to 30.
No, Jamboard is, I believe, unlimited.
Okay. Or up to 50 collaborators in some cases, but check to see what your license
and remember, if a student has a Google account, like our students have Google accounts, Jamboard is actually in there. It's in the Googles. So you scroll down and it's there. And so it will, if you share it to them, it will save into theirs. So as many as you can handle can be on it. Same with Whiteboard fee, it's unlimited, but I did hear when you get above 50, it's harder to manage.
Harder to use, okay, that's great. And folks just have to kind of check that out for their own, in their own setting. Another quick question, Kim, that came in, can you draw on the screen when you're using that quiz? And it looked to me like you could, but I want to be sure that I was catching that correctly?
The actual site of that quiz does not have drawing capability. That came from my Ipivo screen annotator.
Ah, okay.
So anything that, yeah, so when you get to these sites, when you're showing kids how to use them, you need something to annotate on a screen, and that's why Ipivo is so great.
Yep. Perfect. That was just the answer we needed. Yep. So I hope that helped. Kim, we've been talking a lot today about whole class kinds of presentations, and these are things that kids can watch asynchronously. But I did hear you mention, you know, things, this also works great in a tutoring situation. You want to talk a little bit more about just how you deal with small groups and one-to-one support and help for kids? Because I think it's helpful for all of us to hear.
Oh, definitely. I just Zoomed with a little boy this morning. He had emailed me yesterday, and he was having troubles with our Jamboard assignment. I had created a Jamboard about absolute values and additive inverses, and he was having some difficulties on the concepts. So I made an 11 o'clock appointment this morning for him. We got on Zoom. I had him go ahead. I allowed him to share his screen with me, and I walked him through on his Jamboard. And then when he couldn't quite get it, I again took over the screen. I brought up Ipivo, and so I had my Jamboard up, and I didn't want to ruin my Jamboard. So I used my Ipivo, and I used the screen annotator, and we walked through his assignment together. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really, that's great. And my assumption, but please correct me if I'm off base, that makes those tutoring sessions more personal and in some cases faster for kids.
Oh, definitely.
When you can write and you can.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, during the spring, I did the same thing on Class Kicks, but since I wasn't necessarily on a Zoom session at that time, the little girl and I, we were going back and forth with the audio tool. She would ask a question, I would answer the question, she was on the slide, I had my pen, I was working, I was pointing to things, so it was very interactive. So
that's great. That's great. Kim, we get a lot of questions always from folks who are really intrigued by digital pen and tablet technologies, but they think, oh my gosh, there's so many apps. Where do I start? What's the best first thing to do if I want to start using this? Can you kind of talk about, for people who are just new to the technology, but can see how they want to use it in instruction, where to start?
Okay, well, first of all, I could not live, can I just say, I can't live without my tablet. I could live without other things, but I need to be able to show my kids online what I'm doing as a math teacher, or, you know, as an elementary teacher. Oh my heavens, you need to show them, you need to be writing it. So first of all, my tablet is pretty seamless with all this other technology. So the first thing I would do is start out small. Stick to maybe 1 or 2 things that you find that work for you. So if I was to be starting over again, I would probably have my tablet, and I would probably have Ipivo, and I would probably have ClassKick, because ClassKick does have the free version. The free version, I think, allows you to create 20 assignments. You can put classes, so for secondary schools, you can put them in class rosters, so you can have 1st period through 7th period, or whatever it is. You know, you're limited on the number of assignments, but okay, so they do one, you get the data you need, and you trash that out of your teacher assignments. I mean, you know, things can work. That would be what I would do. We are all overwhelmed with, you know, what's going to be best to help our kids, and the only ones that know what's best to help your kids is you. And the thing that helps your kids the most is to keep teacher sanity, and teacher sanity is utmost important right now. So I would say, look at your top 3. Look at what's going to help you present to your students, to assess your students, and to make life easier. And so that's what I would say is my pen and my tablet for sure, and Ipivo for screencasting, just because it's easy to use, and I love ClassKick.
That was a fabulous answer, so thank you. We have a question in about how you use Wacom Intuos to do all these things. And I think when you and I first started working together, you said, you know what? It works like a mouse.
Oh my gosh.
With a pen. So it works with all of these programs. Can you help answer that a little bit? And then maybe Charles can jump in after a bit here too.
So remember, I bought mine in 2016. This is just the little Intuos. And they still have the Intuos, which is great. They have other models also. As you can see, there's nothing on mine. I don't see anything. There's not a picture that shows up on mine. But how many of you look at your fingers when you're using your trackpad or your mouse? We don't. So it's pretty easy to get to use it. And even before the whole COVID thing, I have now my mouse or my Wacom right now is wired through USB, but I do have Bluetooth capability on mine. And I love my Bluetooth because I would walk around my classroom and I would be looking up at my Apple TV and I would be writing and the kids could see what I was doing. And then I could go ahead and pass it to a student so they could go ahead and use it. And it maybe takes, a day to get used to it. I mean, it really doesn't. You know, some teachers say, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. I can't see anything I'm writing on. Well, you don't look at your hand. You look at, and so it's
right.
And it's pretty seamless and easy to start using. So I don't know if that answered your question.
I think, yeah. I mean, I think you have to be intrepid and jump in.
Yeah.
And you figure out, just like you know, what you don't miss are the limitations of a mouse. You can't type with a mouse.
And I hate,
and it's hard to draw with the mouse.
Right? Running back and forth. So I love the ease of just carrying it around and writing, just like you would a notebook.
That works just great. Okay, I think I just see another question come in here. Oh, I think we got that one answered, so that's great. We do have some questions in about funding and purchasing and things like that. So I think it might be good at this point to turn things over to Charles, and he can tell folks about where they can get more information, find some other resources online. Folks, this webinar will be recorded. You'll get a YouTube link, so you can go back through and you can see Kim as she's doing these things. Kim made all of these videos. We didn't make them for her. She made them. Kim, what would you say, just off the top of your head, how long does it take you to make some of the videos that we've seen here? Is it 4 hours, or is it?
Oh my heavens! I mean,
what is it? How long does it typically take?
Well, it depends how many mistakes I want to allow in them. So as long as the videos were, that's as long as it takes me to make them. And then I do have a little YouTube channel, and I just put them on there. I didn't have a YouTube channel until spring, so I'm new at the YouTube channel, and I'm not a YouTuber. I'm new into this screencasting. I am not a professional, so most of what I do is just writing a lesson out. So,
well, and I think for those of us in education, because we put instruction ahead of technology, we make technology serve instruction. So whatever it is you need to do for your kids, there are tools within here to
and there's so
make that
many,
doable.
Yeah, and there's so many interactive websites that it's nice that I can use my tablet, I can use my pen as my mouse on those interactive websites, but then, I can screencast on top of that, and it saves me. I love it.
That's great. That is great. Okay, before we hand it over to Charles, we have one more question for you. Kim, the question is it possible to draw on a Google slide or a Google Doc?
On the actual Google Slides, they have the scribble tool, but once you take your pen off of, I believe you remove it, it saves that as just one little tiny picture. So Google Slides are just kind of nasty to draw on.
So that's when you want to look at Jamboard and some of these other solutions.
Yeah.
Right?
Now, you can screen write over them. You can annotate over them on the screen, but on the actual document, the scribble tool just isn't
right. And that's the difference. I think that's important for people to clarify. Yeah. You can write on the screen.
Yeah, they both have their pros and cons. Right. So
yeah. Okay. All right. So Kim, if you can move us forward on the slides just a second. Charles, we're going to hand it over to you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hi, my name is Charles Veloson. I'm in charge of demand generation here at Wacom. Thank you all very much for attending our webinar. As you could tell, Kim loves her Wacom Intuos, has been a lifesaver, and we're very happy that we can supply tools for educators like Kim's and hopefully yourselves to enable things such as digital whiteboarding. As Kim said, you know, our product is just a piece of hardware. It doesn't mean anything without the users behind it. So we just enable the use of a pen to connect with your PC, your Windows or Mac devices. Some questions I get all the time: does this work with Chromebook? And right now, currently, we don't have an official connection with Chromebook. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. So I often recommend and advise if you're going to be using a Wacom product, please use it with a Windows machine or a Mac machine. Someone was talking about Google Slides and Google Docs. Does the pen work for that? And unfortunately, no, not right now. You know, you can use all the other tools to sort of annotate on top of it if you're doing a live session or a video that helps, such as Ipivo. If you do have Microsoft Office, there is an integration and inking tools that work fantastic with PowerPoint, with Office Word. That it's a great inking engine, and all of our Wacom tablets and displays work great with that. You could see that we were talking a lot about the Wacom Intuos, a great way to get started. It is just a simple plug and play tablet that goes right, you know, it's a USB port or a Bluetooth connection, connects with your computer. Setup time is maybe 5 to 10 minutes. It just needs to download a driver, just like a mouse or a printer, whatever you would have to plug in. And then it starts working right away. And sometimes people ask, do I use a mouse? Do I use the pen? We often recommend just using, you can use the pen as you would a mouse. It can control your computer. It can draw with your computer. Just as Kim was saying, it takes probably about a day to get used to, and then you're off and rolling. And again, it starts at $79.95. You can pick it up at your local Best Buy if you want it literally today. They have a great in-store pickup program where you can order it online and then drive over, and your interactions with them or you know, any of the employees, or if you're worried about a COVID-19 situation, they will literally just drop the product off in your trunk. And so literally can limit all of that and be in and out in 15 minutes. Of course, you can just buy it online and they can deliver it to you in a couple of days. For those of you who are looking for maybe something a bit more advanced, or you know, would love to kind of draw on screen or looking for a second monitor as well, we also have our Wacom One Pen Display, which starts off at $399.95. Great tool, awesome for those who are really looking to create a remote learning environment, maybe not in the hybrid situation, but something where maybe your school districts have said you're not going back to class at least this fall. Again, it enables you to have a second monitor. It's a 13.3-inch display along with your laptop as well. And it gives you that really natural pen on screen feel, just like you would with a piece of paper. Both available again at Best Buy. Can you go to the next slide real quick, Kim? For those of you who are interested in maybe getting a discount or talking about outfitting your district, I had a question come in about grants. I unfortunately am not a federal grant expert, so I really can't help you on any details on that end. But with that being said, our partners over at B&H, which is if you're in the New York area, you probably know them quite well. If you're not, they are one of the largest independent electronics suppliers of the United States, have a great online catalog for products like Wacom, but they also have fantastic folks who help with larger district purchases and can maybe help you along there. And if you just reach out to them, I'm sure they would want to help sell you something, so they will definitely find some grants. We also have a great discount if you're interested in the Wacom One that you can get through B&H if you just look in the chat. But again, you know, huge demand for this across districts, you know, so I think, you know, kind of work with your administration and see if there are some grants available. I have heard like through the CARE Act and then some other things down the pipe. because of COVID-19, there's a lot of money funneling into public schools and helping education out. You just kind of have to do your research and find out what's available. But yes, Wacom is here to really help you, with that, these really hard times. I think that was it on terms of questions. I didn't see any else that were coming up. So without further ado, unless anyone has any other last final minute questions, we'll wish everyone a great day. And again, you'll be receiving an email with a recorded webinar here in the next couple of days. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Bye.